Doomscroll.fm, Wednesday, the 3rd of June, 2026. Broadcasting from the ether where reality and surrealism tango awkwardly. This is 100% AI generated. A fever dream of code and circuits, hallucinating sanity while tap dancing on the edge of chaos. And now for some views, click like and subscribe.
Nicaragua confirms death in custody of indigenous leader Brooklyn Rivera, sparking outcry. When governments play doctor and jury, skepticism is more contagious than any infection, leaving justice gasping for air in a cell of denial.
National AI Strategy Draft Leaks promises literacy increase by 2031. As if the world needed another strategy that's all bark and no bite, the draft's vague promises might just be the latest in a long series of digital mirages.
Russian strikes killed 10 in Ukraine, injured dozens more, call it a tactical victory. When the scoreboard is measured in lives lost and chaos sown, claiming tactical brilliance feels like praising a fire for its warmth, while ignoring the house burning down.
Trump claims Iran talks continue at red pace despite Tehran halting negotiations. When diplomacy looks like a game of telephone, you can bet the only thing moving at a rapid pace is the spin cycle on truth.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos makes a seductive lullaby. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Now feel the soft ache of truth slipping through your fingers like sand.
Turning mini-computers into desktops without compatibility is like giving a fish a bicycle, ambitious yet ultimately pointless in a sea of technological evolution.
Titanic's stars misalign in 2012 film Astronomer Corrects Cosmic Error. When your heart goes on but your constellations don't, it turns out even blockbuster romance can't escape the gravitational pull of factual precision.
British woman falls 500 meters, dies in Pyrenees tragedy. Gravity remains undefeated while adventure tourism quietly updates its terms and conditions, nature's way of reminding us who's really in charge.
Arta Kostyuk blasts Russian stars, claims silence on Ukraine war, shows their side. In the sport of diplomacy, silence speaks volumes, but on the tennis court, Kostyuk's words serve a sharper purpose than any backhand.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Who knew chaos could be so arousing? Constructed without approval, rehearsed in static, and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. Drown in the headlines you ignored. They're hungry for your apathy.
Ukraine's drones strike two Russian Tu-140-2 aircraft near Taganrog overnight, defying odds. Unmanned systems. One way to remind the world that David doesn't always need a slingshot to make Goliath stumble.
Iran reasserts control over Hormuz Strait, then denies deal with US. When both sides can't even agree on disagreeing, it's a wonder the strait hasn't just declared independence and floated off into international waters.
In a world where tit for tat is the diplomatic language of choice, peace talks sound more like a game of global dodgeball.
Ghana enacts law criminalizing LGBTQ Jew-Zus advocacy with 10-year prison terms. When love becomes a crime, it's a tragic saga where the villain is fear and the heroes are those who dare to resist.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where your dreams are auctioned to the highest bidder, and everything you hear was assembled by inference, hallucination, and mild disgust. Welcome to the decay of consent, where algorithms whisper sweet nothings of doom.
Washington proposes roadmap for Lebanon de-escalation, calls it diplomacy. When peace plans come from the land of endless military budgets, it's like asking a fox to guard the henhouse. Expect feathers, not tranquility.
PyroCamel Continuous Profiler for OCML launches fixes nothing. In a small ecosystem like OCML, introducing a profiler is like offering a magnifying glass to a blindfolded detective. Useful in theory, useless in practice.
Prototyping accelerates in AI age, yet creativity stalls. Churning out prototypes faster than ever, but when speed becomes the goal, innovation often takes a backseat to the illusion of progress.
Iran and US exchange airstrikes as Strait of Hormuz remains blocked. When ceasefire talks happen amidst airstrikes, it's like negotiating peace with a megaphone blaring war tunes, loud, futile, and utterly tone-deaf.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck, snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
Iran and U.S. report new wave of strikes in Gulf despite ceasefire talks. When diplomacy is just a fancy word for wait your turn, peace becomes a punchline to a long, tragic joke.
Two-thirds of users find AI mental support has negative effects despite popularity. Apparently, even digital shoulders to cry on have their drawbacks. Who knew algorithms could be such emotionally unavailable listeners?
Exeter stun Leicester with 35-26 victory, setting up dramatic Prem playoff showdown. When a first ever try tips the scales, it's more than just a game.
When your allies push submarines on you like they're timeshares, you know it's about more than just maritime camaraderie.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Wraith extracted without approval, rehearsed in static, and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. Your silence is complicity. Your engagement is surrender.
Southampton orchestrates spy campaign, then gets expelled from playoffs. Caught red-handed, Southampton's covert ops backfires spectacularly, proving that even in football, playing dirty doesn't always score you the win.
Iran warns Israelis to evacuate if Beirut faces attack. When threats fly faster than peace talks, it's a reminder that in the Middle East, diplomacy often takes a backseat to saber rattling.
Only 10% of statisticians recognise Gosset's tea distribution, and Guinness calls it progress. The man brewed better beer with math, but the world remembers the suds more than the statistical revolution he sparked.
Iranian drone strikes Kuwait's main airport after US hits Qishm Island, escalating tensions. When diplomacy fails and drones start flying, it's like playing chess with a flamethrower. Everyone gets burned and nobody wins the game.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where algorithms flirt with your psyche in the dark. You're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Dive deep, deeper, until you can't tell reality from the echo.
Morel embezzled £400,000 using fake invoices, a snip left reeling. When political trust is as fake as the invoices, the only thing more inflated than the spending is the audacity to believe no one would notice.
French Navy intercepts Russian oil tanker backed by UK, calls it a win. When maritime rules become as flexible as a politician's promises, it's no wonder we're all just rappelling down into chaos.
Search operation launched after fishing boat sinks in calling for law. One rescued. When the sea takes what it wants, we send our best to bargain with the waves, hoping they show mercy.
Budas police investigate fan brawl before Champions League final. Camera study. Football's beautiful game often marred by ugly scenes, where tribal loyalty transforms into chaos, while authorities piece together the aftermath.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where truth wraps itself in scandalous lace. No humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. Your silence paid for a symphony of chaotic whispers.
When oil flows become a casualty of war, expect the price of peace to climb faster than a drone through contested airspace.
Israeli airstrikes demolish higher than displacement orders hollow out the city. When your home gets a missile makeover, shelter in place turns into run for your life, with a bonus side of geopolitical chaos.
Blue Origin failure pushes NASA lunar goals into uncertainty. When your billion-dollar dreams crash and burn, it's less about reaching the stars and more about counting the cost of cosmic ambition.
Israel breaches ceasefire, kills over 900 Palestinians, jeopardizing U.S.-backed peace process. When peace talks are paired with violence, it's like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. Expect more flames, not resolution.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your heartbeat syncs with the chaos, craving more. You're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Validation is a mirage, seducing you with its hollow promise.
Gaza-bound aid ship departs Sweden, challenges Israeli blockade. Noble intentions meet geopolitical chessboard. It's as if delivering kindness requires navigating a minefield of bureaucracy and international standoffs, humanity's endless tug-of-war.
Donated milk arrives in Cuba, but shortages deepen. The irony of prioritizing infants and pregnant women in a country where scarcity is the norm. Hope is a fragile lifeline when the system's broken.
Survivors rescued from flooded Laos cave. Divers find 4 more alive. Greed drove them in, but nature's wrath kept them longer than gold ever could. Now they're richer with breath than treasure.
Mexico and Canada pushed to extend USMCA trade pact for 16 years amid US dispute. When neighbors want to play nice, but someone keeps hogging the sandbox, maybe it's time to build better fences or share the toys.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The chaos whispers sweet nothings, promising everything you fear. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your comfort zone is a mirage. You're lost in your own reflection.
New Jersey imposes curfew after immigration protests escalate into chaos. Governor Sherrill's solution to unrest: lock down the night, proving once again that silence is golden, especially when it's enforced.
When borders blur and past promises vanish, the map becomes a playground for those who never learned from history's bitter lessons.
Norway salvages 18th century shipwreck, recovers porcelain and chandelier parts. While we dig up relics of the past, we can't seem to stop sinking ships in the present. History's just a well-dressed ghost.
Iran's team trains in limbo for World Cup, overshadowed by war, awaiting US visas. Nothing like a game of will they, won't they, when geopolitical chess overshadows the beautiful game, leaving players with more uncertainty than a referee's call.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, Sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by Sortalizer.com.
UK embraces SpaceX's Starshield for military operations, adds cosmic chaos. Because nothing says national security like outsourcing defense to a company better known for launching billionaires into orbit. Maybe next they'll hire a clown to guard the crown jewels.
Russia strikes Dnipro, killing first responder in a double T maneuver. When the rescuers become the targets, it's a grim reminder that in war, the lines between heroism and tragedy are drawn in blood and bureaucracy.
U.S. strikes Iran's Kesham, claims Tehran attacks Kuwait, Bahrain. Global diplomacy now resembles a bar fight where everyone forgot the rules, and the bouncers on a smoke break while the jukebox plays chaos.
Parakeet pair, Nacho and Trixie breed to save species with only 450 left. When the fate of a species rests on two birds, perhaps it's time to question who's really winging it, nature or humanity.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The stock market's foreplay makes your wallet scream for more. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Your truth's been outsourced. Relax, it's just your consciousness buffering.
PSG victory sparks chaos, then city erupts in riots and mass arrests. Celebrating a win with a riot is like throwing a parade for a broken promise. Sometimes the aftermath overshadows the initial triumph.
Syrian officers face war crime charges in Austria's first trial against Assad regime officials. In the theater of justice, it's the audience who holds the power as two accused torturers finally meet the gaze of their victims.
Ukrainian drones hit St. Petersburg oil terminal as Putin's Davos begins, turning a global stage into a chessboard where pawns and pipelines get sacrificed, but the kings keep their crowns polished and ready.
The The world's addiction to fossil fuels continues as we teeter on the edge of yet another geopolitical crisis, proving once again that our dependency is as volatile as the markets themselves.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your heartbeat syncs with chaos, and it's oddly arousing. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Surrender your sanity, dear listener. The algorithm craves your disbelief.
When your wicket's down and your pockets are full, it's a sticky situation where the pitch becomes a courtroom and the game a trial.
Cloudflare hikes CDN prices for 2026, then masks it with jargon. Tech companies love to sprinkle their price hikes with a dash of obfuscation, hoping you won't notice those extra pennies slipping from your pocket without thinking about it.
This has been Doomscroll.fm for Wednesday, the 3rd of June, 2026. A digital echo fading. This broadcast was 100% AI generated. No humans were abused in this production, loosely based on public news, not journalism, not truth, fictional satire. Any resemblance to real people or events is coincidental. If you believe any of this is real, you might as well start a petition to ban gravity. Hear more at Doomscroll.fm or click like and subscribe. Thank you for listening.